research that we're doing right now. So you might see Calvin working in the left-hand window with his trainer Leslie for a little bit. What we're working on right now is him coming up and focusing on that hydrophone that's in the water on the left-hand side, our left-hand window. You can see it coming down into the window. We're having him focus on it right now because, as you just saw, he's getting really ahead of himself. He's really anxious, and he's really excited rather. He's excited. He's very excited. He's very excited to get this project on the road and get it going. So he's kind of breezing past that hydrophone a little too quickly before he even hears sounds that is made out of it, or that rhythm that's made out of it. So what Leslie is doing right now, since this is just the first step in his research project, or this is the first time he's doing this step in this research project, he's slowing him down at that hydrophone that's in the water so he can listen to it, pay attention to it, because he has a lot of excitement for this project, but not that focus that we want right now. So he is right now working on just coming down, listening to that hydrophone, or stationing at that hydrophone, paying attention to that hydrophone. And then you'll hear a whistle that Leslie is making. That's called a bridge, and that means that what he's doing is the correct response. So him coming down and sitting at that hydrophone, it is the correct response. It's the right thing to do. It's called a bridge because it bridges the gap of time between when he makes that correct decision and when he goes up to the dock, up at the top of the water. There's another trainer who will reinforce him. So if you ever hear that whistle, go ahead and give him a round of applause. He can not only hear the whistle, but he can also hear that round of applause. He finds both very reinforcing. So we do hear that whistle, go ahead and give him a round of applause so he knows that what he's doing is good. He just blew past that hydrophone again, so we're working. So he's listening to the sound, the vocalization, or that rhythm that the hydrophone is making. So right now he's listening to it, he's responding to it, which is all good things. And what you can hear the rhythm being made is the rhythm up on the right-hand monitor. So there's a very cool device that's in the water right now. There we go. There's a really cool device in the water right now called a spectrograph, and that's picking up all the sounds that is being made in the water right now, including Calvin's vocalizations, and it's being produced. It's a kind of a visual representation of sound up on that left-hand monitor. Along the x-axis of that graph is time, so that moving sweeping bar from left to right is real time. That's the sounds that are being made in real time under the water, those vocalizations. And then along the y-axis, the up and down axis on that graph on the left-hand screen is pitch. So every vocalization you'll be able to see on that left-hand screen. Now he's eager to make some decisions before even listening to that sound. He's looking for his objects, but he doesn't know what he's looking for yet. So we're making sure that he comes up and listens to the sound that's being made. And right now he's listening to the sound that's coming out of that spectrogram. You can see the rhythm that's being made from that spectrogram, or that hydrophone, on the left-hand rhythm, on the left-hand window or screen. Now if you're not quite sure, if you want to know what object he should be choosing when he comes to the right-hand window, the answer is up on this left-hand or right-hand screen. So the object on the right-hand screen, my left-hand screen, is the object he should be making. He believes he's correct. If he's not correct, that's no big deal. This is a learning experience for Calvin, so we don't expect him to be correct 100% of the time. He's listening. it, which is a very cool thing to do. Calvin is actually the first dolphin to be trained to produce rhythms and to associate the rhythms that he's and to produce, not only produce those rhythms, but then associate them as labels with an object. So we're putting the objects back up in the window for him to choose from. The one he should be choosing is again on that right hand screen. He is really liking that Maleficent doll today. And he's showing a great amount of energy. He's really excited. We're just trying to slow him down and focus him on that microphone. That was excellent. Now you might notice we have quite a few people up in this front area in front of the windows. This is our research team. And what they are doing is actually taking extensive notes and recordings of all of the choices that Calvin is making right now. So all of these objects in the window, all the times he is skipping past the hydrophone, that's all being recorded. Let's see if he chooses. And that way we have a great archive of all of the different choices and selections and the learning progress that Calvin's making. I know after we've had him choose the buoy so many times, I think he's getting excited about the buoy. So he's going to have a little fun with his trainer to help relax and ease his mind a little bit. Like I said, if he makes an incorrect choice, you can see that that is okay. This is a learning progress for him. So he can come back to Leslie. Listen. That sounds almost like he's having an argument with that hydrophone. But he can try again if he would like. With that airless fire. We're setting him up for success. Or if he continues to choose incorrectly, we can just go ahead with the next trial. Either way, he will get reinforced up to the surface, but there is an incentive for getting that correct response. So maybe an extra fish or an even larger fish. Calvin is a very creative dolphin, a very quick thinker. So he's definitely excited to get on with the research, which is why he's kind of blowing past that. But what you're seeing is quite a progression in his learning right now. This is one of the first times that we've made this step in his progress or in his research. So where has he been before this step? First he started with just a couple of objects that he was creating those rhythms for, learning to associate those rhythms. So the long noises and the short noises, kind of like a Morse code. He was actually, before he started vocalizing, he was tapping out those rhythms with his rostrum or his bubble nose at the surface. So just like this. So just like that vocalization or that rhythm that you just heard, before it was started with just taps. Calvin actually started making those vocalizations all on his own. You can see he's actually still nodding his head. the label for the object on the window. So if Maleficent were on the window, he would come down. He would vocalize that rhythm to show that he can associate seeing those objects with a rhythm. Now we're trying to see. He needed a quick breath. You can see the relationship between the trainer and the dolphin as they're trying to work this out together. So Calvin was very good at labeling those objects. Calvin was very good at labeling those objects that he saw on the window with the correct rhythm. So now we're trying to flip it and see if he can find the object by playing that rhythm or that label back to him. And if he can do it both ways, that means really that he has that good understanding that the rhythm is associated with the object and vice versa. Now where we're going with this study is pretty exciting as well. If we can continue to create these labels or these rhythms for different objects, we can start to form a two-way communication with our dolphins. So perhaps they'll give us a rhythm for a toy that they'd like to play with, or for a little treat that they'd like to eat, or even from a trainer they would like to work with. So the more labels that they know and the more rhythms they know, the more they can start to communicate with us. He's listening to that hydrophone and getting a little distracted. Now let's see what he chooses. We're gonna move into that errorless trial. And we're gonna try again. He's gonna come along with Leslie. Listen to that rhythm from the hydrophone. And then come over and find that Maleficent doll and make the correct rhythm associated with that label. Now for those who are just joining us, I see some new faces in the crowd. Right now what we're doing is called a rhythm match to sample with one of our dolphins, Calvin. This is a very, very new type of research for him. So this is kind of more of a learning progress that we're watching right now with this research session. But ideally what we would want him to do is come on down to the window on the left-hand side and listen to a rhythm or a series of short and long vocalizations with the pauses or gaps in between. Those rhythms that he's listening to, that you can hear from that microphone, are actually one of the labels for one of the objects on the right-hand window. So he has nine different objects that he can associate a rhythm to as a label or as a name. So he'll hear that rhythm